An early access RTS, Meridian Squad 22 is a beautiful looking game that operates on a pace that's far too slow for its own good. As anyone who's watched more than one of my reviews knows, I'm a big real-time strategy fan, having grown up playing Command & Conquer and Age of Empires. My RTS fix only comes once in a blue moon these days, so whenever I see a good-looking new title pop up, I want to immediately give it a try and see how it is. Enter Meridian Squad 22, an RTS that has some of the best-looking graphics I've seen in an RTS title in a long time. It's a game that's currently in early access on Steam, and as such, you should keep in mind that the game may change in minor or major ways between now and its full release. In its current form, Squad 22 has a total of 4 campaign missions and a couple of skirmish game types that offer essentially the same gameplay as the campaign, but without the voiceovers along the way. The campaign missions are relatively simple for the most part, kill everything that isn't friendly towards you, and the skirmish goals are the same. The best thing going for Squad 22 is its graphics, and as I've already said a few times, they look fantastic. The colors are vibrant, units have an immense amount of detail, and there's no noticeable slowdown in the game regardless of the units or portions of the map on screen. The smallest details are accounted for both in cutscenes and in-game, such as the exhaust from aerial fighters and the debris cloud from units that explode upon death. Squad 22's audio is also fairly good, with the voiceovers being surprisingly well done, particularly for a small studio. The game's music, if it existed, which thinking back now I honestly can't remember if it does or not, is what it is, but the sound effects are excellent, though the volume could use a little tweaking. The volume oscillates between being whisper quiet while units are being built and blowing your eardrums out when a Chimera mech fires its insanely loud weapons. A bit more balance and leveling would relieve me of having to constantly increase and decrease my speaker volume while playing the game. Classic real-time strategy controls apply here, and everything was just about as normal as you'd expect. I did encounter some issues with them though, but I can chalk those up to the game being in early access. Things like groups of units not adding up like you'd expect, groups occasionally randomly losing or gaining units, the on-screen pointer feeling inaccurate and jumpy, and inconsistent jumping to groups when single or double tapping the group number were irritating but not game-breaking. Upgrades and new units and structures are unlocked by picking up tech points scattered around each map that apply to 3 sections: defense, economy, and combat. This is a far cry from the usual upgrade path taken in RTSs where you just have to build buildings and research new tech in order to unlock upgrades. Squad 22's method forces you to explore each map to its fullest to build out your tech tree, and if you don't do a thorough exploration or you take the wrong upgrade paths, you'll be locked into your decisions for quite a while. This is an interesting gameplay choice that has its positives and negatives, but overall didn't affect my play much in either direction. Resources in the game consist of power, food, and shardium, a fabulous new element that can be turned into pretty much anything and functions as a handy way to explain how most units are built in-game, though I'm still left wondering how the people are spat out of barracks at such a quick rate. That's something I've wondered about in most RTS games. I'll believe that production on a tank or a boat or a jet can be sped up, but come on, where are these people being produced? In vats? That was actually a detail about the Yuri faction from Red Alert 2 that I really enjoyed, since his infantry units came from cloning vats, not barracks full of virile couples spitting out babies faster than rabbits. Anyway, I digress. The game's resources are relatively simple since the power and food are provided for you by buildings, and shardium is present at every home base build location in quantities plentiful enough that you won't run out before you either kill all of your enemies or they kill you. The only real trouble comes up in ramping up gathering and balancing out where you spend your resources, which is kind of the whole point of an RTS, so there's no real issues there. Now comes the part where Squad 22 goes from skipping happily through a field of daisies to falling flat on its face on asphalt and breaking a few teeth off in the process. Squad 22 is slow. Dreadfully slow. Painfully slow. Slow to the point where I legitimately, really, no kidding, fell asleep for a few minutes in the middle of playing. I wasn't even tired. It was just slow. The pace of the game is like molasses on a glacier, and when combined with the weak unit pathfinding and maneuvering around each other, the game grows increasingly tedious the more you play. My favorite part of a real-time strategy game is the initial setup, where you're trying to get as many resources as possible and pump out an army of units while wondering when the first attack will come. Now, even though I like to turtle in RTSs, there's still a quick pace to everything. Squad 22 doesn't have that quick pace. At all. Building, deployment, movement, and combat all happen at a snail's pace, which, for me, isn't all that much fun. This slow pace is the single biggest criticism I have for Squad 22, and if the pace could be sped up, it would turn the game from one that feels pretty meh into something I'd actually play on a regular basis. There are some other minor flaws, like a story that doesn't make much sense and the aforementioned control issues, but these are things that are easy to fix between early access and a full release. The pace of the game, though, is baked into what it is, and I don't see how it can be easily remedied without a complete overhaul of the entire game. Now, the graphics, audio, and other parts of the game are simply too good for me to believe that the pace of the game is purely an an error or oversight, which leads me to believe that it's a conscious choice on the part of the developer. If that's the case and there are enough players who like the slow pace, then I'm fine with being in the minority here. I just don't see how a faster pace would take away anything from the game though, and I can see many ways in which the game would benefit from that faster pace. Available now for $10 on Steam, Meridian Squad 22 is still in early access and isn't quite worth the price point just yet. It has a lot of potential, and a handful of issues, most of which can be easily remedied, but overall it feels like a good but slow-paced RTS. There isn't a whole lot in the game right now beyond a few campaign missions and skirmishes, so if you're on the fence about this title, I'd recommend watching and waiting to see what gets added before pulling the trigger. If you're a hardcore RTS fan though, you might want to go ahead and pick this up just so you can see how the game evolves and offer suggestions to the developer. I'm Mike and this is Game That with Mike. If you enjoyed this review, please consider subscribing. Thanks, and I'll be back again soon.